TJ, what was kind of your impressions of the change in leadership here? Kind of looking from afar, what did you know about Coach Bell at first, and what have you kind of gotten to know about him since then?
I didn't really know a whole lot about him at first. I just knew he was at Florida State. Previously, from when I was here, we played against him, obviously. As I've gotten to know him and seen how he runs practice, and I think he's going to be a great change in leadership here. I think he's going to be, he's going to get the best out of guys, and he's going to, turn this team in the right direction.
What style of leadership have you noticed from him?
Mostly, he just loves the game of baseball. You can tell he really knows what he's talking about. With his time at Florida State, and I'm sure other places that he's really learned a lot from coaches that he's been around and players that he's been around. And you can tell that he kind of takes everything he's learned to this point in his career and is applying it with these guys.
There's a good number of former Pitt players that have been playing professionally for a while. Is there a feeling that this team always had the potential to have the kind of successful season that they had last year, and that it, for whatever reason, it never came together, but there was always the talented pieces here to do it?
I feel like, yeah. The game of baseball is crazy. Things one bounce can change games. I know in my junior year, we ended up on the wrong side of a couple of really close games that could have, swung the season one way or the other. A bounce here or there. If it goes our way, it's a different season. I think, yeah, every guy here believes in themselves, and they have the talent to have a successful, even more successful year than they did last year.
How do you try to build on some of those big wins and successes that you guys did have last year?
I think the biggest thing is how good you can be. And these guys got to believe that they can be even better than that. But I think getting to where they did last year kind of set a precedent for where they should be this year. And I think the older guys here know what it took to get to the point last year. And I think it's their job to kind of bring the younger guys along and know what it takes to get there.
Is there a different mindset for you this offseason, knowing that you're going to get a bigger opportunity this spring, Major League Camp, and more eyeballs on you?
No, not really. I think I like to. I had a pretty successful year last year, a healthy year last year. I think I wanted to stick to the things that got me there. Same routines, same workout routines with obvious, subtle adjustments, because you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But I think just kind of sticking with what works. Keeping a level head, and still having very high expectations and aspirations for myself.
You made it to the Blue Jays 40 million.
No, I did not.
Oh, yeah. But you got invited to the big league camp.
I will go, yeah. I'll be at big league camp
that's the first goal. What's the second goal after that?
Well, I guess the goal for this year would be to break through and make the big league club at some point this year. Obviously, there's a lot of things I need to check off the list before I get there, but that's the ultimate goal for this year.
What do you need to work on this spring?
I think the biggest thing is just continuing to develop my pitches and make them as consistent as possible, as well as working on game sequencing, and that's going to come with getting with older catchers, guys who've been around. My catchers in AA, they did a fantastic job last year calling games and really putting me in a position to be successful. Just kind of learning from them and learning from other catchers and other pitchers that I'm going to be around. I've been around the game longer than me and had success. Just kind of build off of them and learn what I can from them.
TJ, do you get a sense that it's not just you, but the program follows you? They're behind you. They're with you every step of the way. Can you feel that when you're going through everything?
Are you talking about the Blue Jays or Pitt?
No, Pitt. Like
absolutely. They've done a fantastic job supporting me every offseason. They welcome me back with open arms to work out in the facility, use the throw here, use catchers. If I want to throw to hitters, they're happy to supply a couple of hitters for me in place. And I think that has been a big part of where I made my leap last year. Basically unlimited resources when I was back here. I think that helped me a lot.
Go ahead, John.
When they come to you for advice, what are some of the things that you tell them?
I think the biggest thing that really helped me after last fall, when I was in the fall league, is learning a solid routine and sticking to that. I think having a solid routine as a pitcher can really get you through the highs and lows. Having kind of a base that you can go back to, whether if you're shutting everybody out 4 in a row or you're giving up 5 or 6 runs in 3 innings for a few starts in a row. You have that base. Obviously throughout the season you have to make subtle adjustments to that. But having a real solid base routine that you can go back to and kind of keep everything the same.
What's your best pitch right now?
My 2-seam fastball.
And are you developing anything for your repertoire this spring?
I think the biggest thing is just continuing my changeup development. Towards the tail end of last year, I started throwing it a lot more, and it made a big leap in effectiveness in this movement. And I think that for me, even once I got drafted with the Blue Jays, they told me, this is going to be a huge pitch for you. This is going to be really big because it's going to have similar action to my two-seam fastball, but obviously much slower. So it's going to really help keep me honest on that two-seam fastball. Vince Horstman in Double-A really did a great job helping me kind of build confidence. We sat down and we decided we're going to use it this much. And every few starts, we'd sit down and look at my pitch usage, and I think it was 12% of my pitches is what we were shooting for. And if we had met that, then we would keep going. And if I didn't, I obviously knew I had to throw it more.
Is that the hardest thing for a pitcher, the changeup, to learn to control the changeup?
I think everybody's different. I think for me, a changeup has just been a confidence thing because it's never been really one of my better pitches. So throwing it in games has not been something I've wanted to do. But in that conversation that I had with Vince, we said, you know what, it might get hit for a home run, or you might get an out. But you got to throw it. The way you're going to get better at it is if you throw it in games. And sometimes in order to do that, you're going to have to take your licks.
What's the level of excitement like, given the amount of young talent that the Blue Jays seem to have amassed in the high levels of the minor league system right now? It seems like there's a lot of guys that people are talking about right now.
I think there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement around the building. I was up in Toronto this past week, and I listened to Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins talk, and they seem very optimistic of where we're headed in the near future. I think once these young guys kind of break through and get to the big leagues, myself included, that we can really once we get adjusted, we can really go far.